English core. In our last class, we discussed the first part of Evans Tries on All Level written by Colin Dexter, right? This is a detective fiction and very interesting lesson too. Every now and then you will be getting a twist. So listen to the lesson very carefully. Really, it's very interesting. Today we're gonna discuss the second part of Evans Tries on All Level and also its climax. Are you all ready to listen to the lesson? If you are ready, let's get started. It was 9:25 a.m. and there was a great calm. At 9:40 a.m., the examination board ran through and the assistant secretary with a special responsibility for modern languages asked to speak to the governor. The examination had already started, no doubt. A quarter of an hour ago. Yes, well, there was a correction slip which some fool had forgotten to place in the examination package. Very brief. Could the governor please? Yes, of course, I'll put you straight through to Mr. Jackson in D-Wing. Hold the line a minute. Was this a sort of thing the governor had feared? Was the phone call a fake? Some signal? Some secret message? But he could check on that immediately. He dialed the number of the examinations board but heard only the staccato bleeps of a line engaged. But then the line was engaged, wasn't it? Yes, not very intelligent, but 2 minutes later, he heard some whispered communications in the cell and then McLeary bored Scott's voice. Will you please stop writing away while? Mr. Evans, and listen carefully. Candidates offering German 0211 should not the following correction. On page 3, line 15, the fourth word should read golden in, not goldie. And the whole phrase will therefore read zum golden in lowen, not zum golden in lowen. I'll repeat that. The governor listened and smiled. He had taken German in the sixth from himself, and he remembered all about the agreements of adjectives. And so did McLeary. By the sound of things, for the minister's pronunciation was most impressive. But what about Evans? He probably did not know what an adjective was. The phone rang again. The magistrate Scott, they needed a prison van and a couple of prison officers, remand case. And within 2 minutes, the governor was wondering whether that could be a hoax. He told himself not to be so silly. His imagination was beginning to run riot. Evans. For the first quarter of an hour, Stephens had dutifully peered through the peephole at intervals 1 minute or so, and after that, every 2 minutes at 10:45 a.m., everything was still all right as he looked through the peephole once more. It took 4 to 5 seconds, no more. What was the point? It was always more or less the same. Evans, his pen between his lips, sat staring straight in front of him towards the door, seeking a safe. Some sorely needed inspiration from somewhere. And opposite him, McLeary, seated slightly askew from the table now, his face in semi-profile, his hair, as Stephens had noticed earlier, amateurishly clipped pretty closely to the scalp, his eyes behind the pebble lenses, peering short-sightedly at the church times. His right index finger hooked beneath the narrow clerical collar and the fingers of the left hand, the nails meticulously manicured, slowly stroking the short black beard. My dear children, in the previous class we discussed that Stephen was there inside the cell and Evans told the invigilator that if somebody is breathing under his neck, he won't be able to concentrate his examination. So, Jackson called governor and got permission to take Stephen out of the cell, and now Stephen stands near the door. That's his duty, okay? Near the door he must stand and peep inside, okay, while the examination going on that time. That is his duty now he got. That is the discussion we did in the first part. Today we're gonna discuss the second part of the lesson, okay? Here begins our story really, okay? Really it's interesting. Please listen the story carefully. Now listen, the time is 9:25. Governor was sitting in his office and he just understood that everywhere perfect silence means that the exam started. Okay, 9:25 it's perfect calm everywhere. Okay, and now time starts moving and the time is now 9:45. Governor got a call from board of examination. Okay, that means from the board, governor got a call from the assistant secretary. Means who was there in the phone? It was assistant secretary, and he called the governor and informed governor that and asked governor that examination started or not. So governor said yes, as usual examination started. It's going on well. Like governor informed the assistant secretary. And assistant secretary said that there is a correction in the question paper. We already kept the correction slip, but some fools in the board, they forgot this correction slip along with the question paper. Okay, you people know that while you write some examination, sometimes any corrections are there in the questions. Teachers used to give you that slip, okay, the correction questions and all they make and then keep it, or they put up along with your question paper. So same like that, here the board assistant secretary, he says that a correction is there in the question, okay, but we just already made the correction and prepared the correction slip and asked the people to keep this correction slip along with the question paper pack to keep, but what happened? Some fools, they forgot to keep this correction slip. So, governor, now I'll just tell what is the correction and all. Will you please hand over this correction to your candidate? That was the question asked by the assistant secretary of board of examination. Okay. So, governor just first thought that whether this call will be a fake, some laid plans, or somebody is trying to help Evans or something. He suspected like that. But after that, he just controlled his thoughts and all, and he says that okay, no problem, secretary, if he wants to just give this correction, I'll connect the phone to Mr. Jackson. He is there near the cell only, so I just connect this phone call to him. You can directly speak to Mr. Jackson. He is the prison officer, and he would hand over the correction to the invigilator, Reverend McClary. Okay, that is the reply given by the governor. Okay, and governor connected the telephone to D-Wing. Okay, Mr. Jackson, extension code, he just connected. And now Jackson received the phone and he got the correction. Okay, so that time governor again, he got the doubt that whether the phone call would be a fake call. Okay, something behind it. Okay, he just wanted to know. For that, what the governor did, you know, and from another telephone he dialed the board number. Okay, because he wanted to know that now Jackson and the assistant secretary both are talking over phone. Okay, so he wanted to know that whether he would get the engaged sound. You know that some people are just talking through the phone, we get that beep sound. Okay, so governor wanted to make sure that the assistant secretary is talking to Jackson. Okay, he wanted to know. That's why he just threw another phone. He tried to the board. Okay, and that time he got that beep sound. Means that engaged not. So governor kept the receiver back and he came to know that exactly the assistant secretary only called and the correction is true only, not any fake thing is happening. Okay, he came to know that. And now Jackson forwarded that correction slip to McClary. Okay, from his office, governor could hear that correction. What was the correction in that question? You just listen. On the page 3, line 15, fourth word, a mistake was there in the question. Okay, just listen. On the page 3, line 15, the fourth word, it is written golden. What was written there? Golden. But it is actually golden. Okay, so the fourth word must be corrected as golden. But in the question paper, it's written golden. Children, listen carefully why I am just giving emphasis through such words and all, because you will get the climax through this all. Okay, in the beginning you got some code numbers and all, examination index number and all, and in every now and then you will be getting small points. Okay, like this words and all. This all we just decode finally, and then that will be the climax of our lesson. So listen carefully. On the page, line 15, the fourth word, it was written in the question paper golden, but Evans must correct the word as golden. Clear? Then the whole phrase will change. See, if he correct his German language, okay. So one word is corrected like golden, the whole phrase will be changed. Okay. So the whole sentence, he must read like that, some goldenen Lowen. So the sentence, he changed this word into this. The sentence will be some goldenen Lowen, not some golden Lowen. That was the correction given by the assistant secretary. Okay. Now McClary pronounced this. Clear? And our governor in the 6th class, he learned German. He knows the words and all, okay, the sentence and what is the meaning and all. Governor, he knows it. So governor was just listening to McLaren's voice, what the correction he was giving, okay. And governor was quite impressed of McLaren's pronunciation. McLaren was just using a very good pronunciation of German language, okay. And our governor was quite impressed with his pronunciation. And now that confusion is gone, okay, because he just thought that some fake call and all, okay, but now the correction it's real, okay. The governor came to know. And that time again the phone rang. Governor took the phone, okay. That time, this time the phone came from magistrate court, okay. From the court only the phone came, and the officers from the court, they asked to send a van, okay, along with some police officers, because a remand case is there. After the, you know that from court only they just listen to the cases and all. After that they just remand the victims, understood. So what happened? The magistrate court asked the governor to send a van along with some police officers to the court. They want to send a remand case to the jail, okay. For that purpose they just called. And this time also our governor just thought of Evans only. Was this call a fake? He just thought. Every now and then the governor, whenever he gets something, he just used to think of Evans, okay. Whether this call also fake, like that he just thought for a moment. But immediately he corrected himself why he behaves like silly. And this call is really from magistrate court only. He must immediately send the van along with some police officers that he came to know. Understood? At the same time, why this governor used to think about Evans now and then? Okay, you people must be very alert. Okay, why? Because Evans is such a person. Okay, that's why the governor was very vigilant. But when he got the call from the magistrate court, he came to know that immediately he must send the van. So he was busy with those activities. He wants to send the van along with some police officers. Also, he started making the arrangements for that. Okay, so for sometimes he forgot about Evans. Okay, and Evans was writing his examination in the cell. Clear? Now we come back to the cell. Okay. Every first quarter, okay, that first quarter of the examination, okay, Evans, I told you, Stephen was standing outside the cell, and every single second he used to peep through the hall, okay, what is happening inside. A small peeping hole is there in the cell door. So Stephen was standing outside, and Stephen used to see inside, okay, through that peeping hole. Every single second, you just imagine that Stephen was that much alert, okay. So every single second he used to peep through the hall. What Evans is doing, he wants to know that. And first quarter hours it happens like that. But after that he changed into 2 minutes. Every 2 minutes he used to peep through the hall. Okay. And whenever he started looking, means in the beginning onwards he just peeped through the hall. Who? Stephen. And every time he understood one thing, Evans was not writing his examination. He kept the pen between two lips and staring somewhere. Okay, that only he noticed. He was not writing anything. He doesn't know anything like that way. He was sitting and staring somewhere, keeping the pen between lips. You people are very familiar with, sometimes if you don't study for your examination, in the examination hall, you just simply waste your time. Last minute only you will be rushing to complete everything. Am I right? Okay. So same thing happened here. He was just simply sitting, but one difference is there. He kept the pen between lips. Understood? And both the hands, it's free. Listen carefully here onwards. If you will be very alert, then only you will be getting everything. Okay. So just listen carefully the sentences and all what I just say. What he was doing, he just kept the pen between his lips and keeps his hand free, okay, and standing somewhere, not writing his examination. That's what Stephen observed or noticed, okay. At the same time, Stephen just looks for McLaren also, and McLaren, he took the Church Times, the newspaper, and put his spectacles and starts reading it. At the same time, McLaren just tied his hair somewhere, like a pony and all, he just tied up, and then he kept one of his hand, the back of his white collar. You know that he just wore a long coat, black coat, but you know that the priest dress and all, okay, like that only the long coat was there, and he just put the hand back on his neck and kept the hand on in his collar, okay, like that way he was sitting, one hand here, and then he was just reading the newspaper, understood? So he kept his hand in the collar and reading newspaper like that. Who found? Stephen found, okay. And when Stephen looked at his fingers, his nails were neatly trimmed. Whose? McLary's, okay. He manicured his nails and all. It was just very neat and clean, like that. He just saw. Clear? Who saw? Stephen saw. See, listen, children, again I am saying that it's very important. McLary was just sitting with the newspaper and he was reading the newspaper, and that time one hand he just kept in his collar, okay. And that time Stephen noticed that his nails were neatly manicured, okay. He just trimmed his nails and all, and his fingers were very neat and clean. He just noticed this. Who noticed? Stephen. At 10:50 a.m., the receiver cracked to life and the governor realized he had almost forgotten Evans for a few minutes. Evans, please sir, a whisper. Evans, please sir, louder. Evans, would you mind if I put a blanket around me? Shoulder, sir? It's a bit pucky in here, isn't it? Silence. Evans, there's one on me bunk here, sir. McLary, be quick about it. Silence. At 10:51 a.m., Stephens was more than a little surprised to see a grey regulation blanket draped around Evans' shoulders. And he frowned slightly and looked at the examinee more closely. But Evans, the pen still between his teeth, was staring just as vacantly as before, blankly beneath the blanket. Should Stephens report the slight irregularity? Anything at all fishy, hadn't Jackson said? He looked through the peephole once again. And even as he did so, Evans pulled the dirty blanket more closely to himself. Was the planning a sudden Batman leap to suffocate McLary in the blanket? Don't be daft. There was never any sun on the side of the prison, no heating either during the summer months, and it could get quite chilly in some of the cells. Stephens decided to revert to his earlier every-minute observation. I told you before, when the governor got the call from the magistrate court, he forgot about Evans for some time, okay, for a few minutes. Now, inside the cell, a new change happens. Listen. Our Evans speaks. He just starts whispering to McLary something. And after that, he just louder, he asked the question, sir, please, like, okay, I listen carefully. Now, McLary and Evans both are sitting inside the cell, okay. That time, Evans speaks something. Evans was writing examination and he asked something to McLary, sir, please, like. McLary just looked at Evans. That time, Evans asked McLary that, sir, I need a blanket. I have my own blanket here. In this cell itself, I just want to wrap it on my shoulders. It's little parky. Parky means it's very cold here, okay. I cannot bear the cold, okay. I'm just feeling very cold. So, I just wanted to get my blanket to wrap it on my, wrap it on my shoulder, okay. He asked that question. Listen carefully. He asked McLary to get the permission to get a blanket of his own, which he kept inside the cell. And he asked McLary that it's little parky. Parky means it's very cold. I want to just wrap the blanket on my shoulder. I have my own blanket here inside the cell. Will you give me permission to take my blanket and wrap it on my shoulder? He asked that permission to McLary. And McLary also felt so, okay, it's really cold. So he gave permission. He gives permission that, okay, Evans, go and get it fast, okay. He gives the permission. And Evans took the blanket and wrapped it on his shoulder. At 10:51 a.m., Stephens again peeped through the hall. That time, Stephen was really surprised to see the new change. Stephen just saw that Evans was sitting with wrapping a blanket on his shoulder, that too the regulation blanket. Regulation blanket means, you know that every prisoners, they get their own things inside the jail, right? Bed, blanket, everything separate, okay. So that is known as his own blanket in the jail. That is known as regulation blanket, okay. So that regulation blanket on his shoulder, he just wrapped it and sitting there. That only who found Stephen found. And immediately Stephen thought that why this new change? How McClary gives permission to this? He started thinking. And the next moment Stephen starts thinking like this. What is it, you know? Whether Evans is going to use this blanket like a Batman, he just leap or jump towards McClary and attack him with the blanket and try to escape. That was the thought comes to Stephen's mind. Listen carefully. With that blanket, whether Evans trying to leap like a Batman and then attack McClary and try to escape from the cell. Okay, that was the thought come to Stephen's mind. Okay, for that only sometimes he might be taken this blanket. He thought in that way, but immediately he just thought of informing this to Jackson, okay, about this new change. But he corrected his thought, okay. Why, you know, because in this D wing, even in summer season, the sunrise won't reach inside, okay. Every time it's very cold. In summer season also it's like that, means now it's winter season, of course it would be very cold. So he's a human being, for that only he can't bear the cold. That's why only he just wrapped the regulation blanket on his shoulder. He corrected his thought in that way, Stephen. And he did not inform this to Jackson, but he started observing him very keenly, okay, because nothing should happen like that. Anyhow, Evans got the permission to wrap the shoulder on his, wrap the blanket on his shoulder. At 11:20 a.m., the receiver once more crackled across the silence of the governor's office, and McClary informed Evans that only 5 minutes remained. The examination was almost over now, but something still gnawed away quiet in the governor's mind. He reached for the phone once more. At 11:22 a.m., Jackson shouted along the corridor to Stephens. The governor wanted to speak with him. Hurry, man. Stephens picked up the phone apprehensively and listened to the rapidly spoken orders. Stephen himself was to accompany McClary to the main prison gates. Understood. Stephens personally was to make absolutely sure that the door was locked on Evans after McClary had left the cell. Understood. Understood. At 11:25 a.m., the governor heard the final exchanges. McClary, stop writing, please. Silence. McClary, put your sheets in order and see they are correctly numbered. Silence. Scraping of chairs and tables. Evans, thank you very much, sir. McClary, all right, was it? Evans, not too bad. McClary, good, Mr. Stephens. Very loud. The governor heard the door clang for the last time. The examination was over. How did he get on, do you think? Asked Stephen as he walked beside McClary to the main gate. Oh, I cannot think he has distinguished himself. I am afraid. His Scots accent seemed broader than ever, and his long black overcoat reaching almost to his knees fostered the illusion that he had suddenly grown slimmer. Stephen felt pleased that the governor had asked him and not Jackson to see McClary off the premises. And all in all, the morning had gone pretty well, but something stopped him from making his way directly to the canteen for a belated cup of coffee. He wanted to take just one last look at Evans. It was like a program he had seen on TV about a woman who could never really convince herself that she would lock the front door when she had gone to bed. Often she would get upset 12, 15, sometimes 20 times to check the balls. At 11:20, once more, the receiver crackled at governor's office, okay? And that time, inside the jail, McClary informed Evans that only 5 minutes left for examination, okay? Only 5 minutes is there to finish the examination, okay? That announcement also made. So, examination is about to finish. And that time, Jackson got a call, okay? And through the call, Jackson came to know that governor is speaking. So, governor asked Jackson that immediately I want to speak to Stephen. That was the command made by the officer, governor, okay. So, just listen. Jackson at 11:20 a.m. Jackson got a call from the governor. Listen very carefully, okay. See, if I am asking you to listen means that something will be there. So, listen. At 11:22 a.m., governor called Jackson and asked that governor wants to speak to Stephen, okay. So, Jackson shouts and calls Stephen that, Stephen, come here. governor wants to talk to you. So Stephen comes and then attends the phone call. Okay, that time governor speaks to Stephen that, okay, after the examination, Stephen, you must yourself, you have to accompany McClary to the gate. Okay, after the examination, you take McClary from the cell and you accompany him, you go with him to the main gate and see him off. Okay, that was the order given by the officer. Okay, the governor, he just ordered that. Means that after the examination, Stephen himself must take McClary out of the cell and Stephen should go with McClary to the main gate and see him off out of the cell. That is the order given by the governor. Clear? And that time inside the cell, the examination finished. So McClary ordered that, okay, examination is over, stop writing. Okay, that instruction given by McClary to Evans. And Evans finished his examination and he says that, thank you sir, to the invigilator. And that time invigilator McClary asked Evans that, how was the examination? How was the examination? Okay, good, not bad, like that way he replies. Understood? And anyhow, all the procedures finished inside the cell. Now McClary wants to come out of the jail. So he just comes out of the cell. That time Stephen was there. And governor has ordered one more thing. When you take McClary out of the cell, you must make sure that you have locked the cell with Evans. Okay, means Evans should be there inside the cell and you locked the cell. You have to make sure of it. Okay, that order also given by the governor. So now governor comes out, McClary comes out of the cell. Stephen locked the cell door. Okay, now Evans is there inside the cell and he locked the door. Only McClary comes out of the cell. Now Stephen himself, he just took McClary and both of them walking towards the main gate. Understood? While walking, Stephen asked McClary that how did he do the examination. That time McClary replied that I cannot think that he had done it well. Okay, just simply he attended the examination, that much only. Like that way he just says. That time Stephen felt that his accent was bit longer. Before McClary was not speaking like this. Now his Scottish accent became too longer, like that way he felt. Okay, that means the pronunciation. You know that we people used to talk the same language, but the accent, pronunciation, everything will be different. You know that. Same like that. Now Stephen asked him the question that how did he do the examination. That time McClary replied that I can't think so. He did it well. Okay, but from that sound, Stephen came to know that his accent, Scottish accent, became broader. Okay, not like before, very broad language he used to speak. Like that way he felt. And that time, Stephen observed one more thing also, one more change also with McClary. What do you know? His coat became, I told you he just wore a long coat. Okay, now the coat became so loose, like that way he felt. It was not suitable for him, very loose, and that suddenly McClary became slimmer, like that way he just felt. Okay, listen carefully. Two things Stephen observed while walking through the main gate. What were they? One is his broad Scottish accent and the second one is about his coat. Okay, suddenly McClary became slimmer, like that he felt. Okay, no other change. Anyhow, Stephen accompanied him and see him off out of the jail. Clear? McClary has gone. Now Stephen turns back and that time Stephen became personally he became well impressed. Why you know? Because he is a recently appointed officer. Jackson is the senior officer, but the governor asked Stephen to accompany McClary to the main gate, not Jackson. Actually, a senior officer is there means governor should order the senior officer to take the invigilator out of the cell. Okay, but here the officer, what he did, he just asked Stephen to do so. That's why Stephen was really very happy because he got that opportunity. Still, he is a recently appointed officer. Then also governor just believes him. That's why like that he just starts thinking. And now Stephen wants to go to the canteen for a cup of coffee. Okay, but before going to the canteen, he thought of himself that directly I should not go to the canteen. Instead, once more I have to go to the cell and make sure that Evans is safe there inside the cell. He wants to look once more there inside the cell. And he just did not go to the canteen. Instead, he turns to the jail cell only, okay, D wing. And while going to the D wing, he started thinking that before he watched a movie. In that movie, a woman was there, and that lady, before going to bed, she just used to make sure that whether she locked the door or not. Not only once or twice, sometimes 10 to 15 times she used to check, because it was very difficult for her to convince herself when she has closed the door, okay, like that. People know that even we also sometimes we just close the cylinder and again we go and check it, okay. Same like that, doors also, whether it's locked or not, we just once or twice we just check, okay. So now while going to the D wing, Stephen thought of that movie and the character, that lady, she used to check the front door even 10 to 15 times every day before go to the bed, okay. That was her nature. Why it is so? Because she want to convince her that she had locked the door. This is people's nature, okay. Now the same thing even he is also doing, who is Stephen also doing. Before coming out of the jail, when he took McLaren out of the jail, that time he just observed and then made sure that Evans is there and he locked the cell door, okay. But now again he wanted to prove that, or he wanted to make himself sure that he locked the cell door, okay. For that purpose, he just went near to the cell door. What happens? He re-entered D wing, made his way along to Evans' cell and opened the peephole once more. Oh no, Christ, no! There sprawled back in Evans' chair was a man. For a semi-second, Stephen thought it must be Evans, a grey regulation blanket slipping from his shoulders, the front of his closely cropped, irregularly tuffed hair, awash with fierce red blood, which had dripped already through the small black bed, and was even now spreading horribly over the white clerical collar and down into the black clerical front. Stephen shouted wildly for Jackson, and the words appeared to penetrate the curtain of blood that veiled McLaren's ears, for the minister's hand felt feebly for a handkerchief from his pocket and held it to his bleeding head. The blood seeping slowly through the white linen, he gave a long, low moan and tried to speak, but his voice trailed away, and by the time Jackson had arrived and dispatched Stephen to ring the police and ambulance, the handkerchief was a sticky, squiggly wad of cloth. McLaren slowly raised himself, his face twisted tightly with pain. Do not worry about the ambulance, man. I'm all right. Get the police. I know where he closed his eyes, and another drip of blood splashed like a huge red raindrop on the wooden floor. His hand felt along the table, found the German question paper, and grasped it tightly in his blood-stained hand. Get the governor. I know where Evans. Almost immediately sirens were sounding. Prison officers barked orders. Puzzled prisoners pushed their way along the corridors. Doors were banged and bolted, and phones were ringing everywhere. And within a minute, McLaren, with Jackson and Stephen supporting him on either side, his face now streaked and cracked with dying blood, was greeted in the prison yard by the governor, perplexed and grim. We must get you to hospital immediately. I just don't. You have called the police. Yes, they are on their way, but I'm all right. Look here. Boldly, he opened the German question paper and thrust it before the governor's face. It's there. Do you see what I mean? The governor looked down and realized what McLaren was trying to tell him. A photocopied sheet had been carefully and cleverly superimposed over the last, originally blank page of the question paper. Yes, see what they have done, Governor, you see. His voice trailed off again as the governor, dredging the layers of long neglected learning, willed himself to translate the German text before him. Sie sollen dem Skon anriberen Plan Ganufogen, der Vichy, Setki est drei Mundbor, Ende des Examens. You must follow the plan already something. The vital point in time is the 3 minutes before the end of the examination, but something, don't hit him too hard. Remember, he's a minister and don't overdo the Scott accent van. A fast approaching siren wailed to its crescendo. The great doors of the prison yard were pushed back and a white Police cars twirled to a jerky halt beside them. Detective Superintendent Carton swung himself out of the passenger seat and saluted the governor. "What the hell's happening, sir?" And turning to McLaren, cries, "Who hit him?" Now Stephen re-entered to Devon and he goes near to the cell door and looked inside, okay? And Stephen cried, "Christ, no, no," like he cried, okay? What happened inside? Yes, a man is sitting inside, but he was just breathing like anything, okay? So a man is there inside the cell and he's breathing like anything. He just saw. Who saw this? Stephen saw. That's why he cried, "Christ, no, no," like, okay. At first, Stephen thought that the person sitting inside is Evans only, okay. And he shouted. Jackson heard that voice. Even Jackson also reached there. And they just went inside the cell, okay. And that time, the person was sitting inside the cell. He took a linen kerchief, okay. A linen kerchief was folded there and kept before I told you. So the person took that linen kerchief and just kept the kerchief on his forehead to cover the wound because he got something hardly hit or something, okay. So he kept that on his forehead because from there only the blood flows, okay. So he kept the linen kerchief. Now Stephen goes inside and he just starts talking, okay. And that time only Stephen came to know that that was not Evans, it is McLaren, okay. And McLaren said that, "I know where is Evans, where he has gone. Please take me to the governor. I'll just tell you," okay, that he says. Understood? So now listen, children, listen carefully. Evans escaped. Who is there inside the cell now? It's McLaren. Understood? But this is not the twist. Listen, okay, please. And then McLaren says that he just put the kerchief on his face, and then he says that, "Please take me to the governor. I must tell him where Evans goes because I know that, see, here is the clue," like that he says, and he took the question paper in his hand, okay, because the question paper is laid on the table. So he took that question paper and showed to the officers Jackson and Stephen and says them that, "I know where Evans is, where he has gone. Please take me to the governor. I'll tell him the clue, okay, and you can find him easily because the clue he left here," like that he says, and he shows the question paper to the prison officers, okay. And that time Jackson called the governor and informed everything through the phone and asked the governor to arrange an ambulance because immediately they must take this person to the hospital because McLaren is badly injured, okay. And after informing this to the governor, Jackson comes back, and then Jackson and Stephen, they just took McLaren because both the sides, these two officers stood, and in middle they just kept McLaren, and on the shoulder they just gave the support and went to governor's office, okay. And when they reached the governor's office, governor he was just shocked to see this. And that bleeding, okay, he was just bleeding like anything. So governor just saw that. Governor asked Jackson that immediately we must take him to the hospital, like governor ordered. But McLaren was not ready to listen to that. He said that, "No, governor, no. You just see that where Evans goes. I have the clue in this paper. Do you get that? What I says? You just read this if you know, please." Actually, we people all know that your board question paper, last paper will be, that means that last sheet will be empty. Nothing would be there because it is the working page. You can just write something if you want. But here you just see that normally that last paper is empty. But here you know something is written. This is the plan somebody just did, and then with this plan only Evans is able to escape from the jail, like that. Who says? McLaren says. So that time only governor just saw the question paper and he took the question paper and starts reading it. Understood? So that empty page, something was kept there, okay? Something written and kept secretly there in the question paper. What was written there in the question paper? Yes, it's written like this. Okay, last 3 minutes of the examination is very important. Okay, you should be very alert in that last 3 minutes. And while hitting the person, the invigilator, don't hit too hard because he's a priest. So while hitting him, you must be very careful, okay? Don't do very hard, okay? Because he is a priest. And then when you come out of the cell, you must be very careful with your accent also, okay? If you are somebody asking something, please be careful with your language. That was written in the question paper. Now children, you just listen that this is a laid plan given by somebody to Evans to escape from the jail. The three things written there, what is that? 3 minutes of their last time of the examination is very important. And the second one is, while hitting McLaren, please do it carefully. And the third one is that while speaking to someone coming out of the jail speech, somebody asks if you speak to someone, Evans, please be careful with your Scottish accent, okay? That 3 instructions given in the question paper, okay? That who read? Our governor reads this all. Now they came to know that how Evans is able to escape. Understood? So that's why in the beginning, Stephen, when he asked about the examination of Evans to McLaren, even Stephen also got that doubt, right? He got the doubt of his broader Scottish accent, okay? Because Evans speaks in that way only. That's why it's written clearly instruction also. But anyhow, in the beginning, Stephen felt this, got this doubt. But he did not clear it. That's why Ivan is able to safely, he just, with the company of Stephen, he is able to escape from the jail. Now, governor came to know that with this instruction, 3 instruction only, Evans is able to escape from the jail. That time, a siren they heard, a van came inside the prison. Okay, and that is, from the van, a person came out. Okay, he is Detective Carter. Okay. And he came near to the governor and saluted the governor. And he asked that what's the hell happening here in the prison? Because everybody they pass the news. You know that a prisoner escaped from the jail means all the police station, everywhere they get the information. So everywhere information passed. That's why even Carter also comes inside the jail now. He asked that what the hell happening here, governor? Like he asked. And he looked at McLaren. That time only Carter, Detective Carter, he just saw that McLaren is bleeding like anything. Oh, who's hit him? Like he asked. Understood? Because he was just bleeding like anything. But McLaren was not bothered about his bleeding, and he just wanted to give the clues to the governor about Evans, okay, and where he goes and all. Because some other things also there in the question paper. Now they just will get the information where Evans goes, okay. But this is not the climax or not the twist, okay. You just listen carefully. But McLaren cut across whatever explanation the governor might have given. Eelsfield Way, officer, I know where Evans. He was breathing heavily and leaned for support against the side of the car, where the imprint of his hand has left in tarnished crimson. In bewilderment, Carter looked to the governor for guidance. What? Take him with you. If you think he'll be all right, he's the only one who seems to know what's happening. Carter opened the back door and helped McLaren inside, and within a few seconds the car leaped away in a spurt of gravel. Eelsfield Way, McLaren had said, and there it was starting up at the governor from the last few lines of the German text. From Eelsfield Way right to the Headington roundabout, where, yes, of course, the examination board was in Eelsfield Way, and someone from board must have been involved in the escape plan from the very beginning. The question paper itself, the correction slip. The governor turned to Jackson and Stephen. I don't need to tell you what's happened, do I? His voice sounded almost calm in its scathing contempt. And which one of you 2 morons was it who took Evans for a nice little walk to the main gates and waved him bye-bye? It was me, sir, stammered Stephen. Just like you told me, sir, I could have sworn. What? Just like I told you? You say, what the hell? When you rang, sir, and told me to. When was that? The governor's voice was a whiplash now. You know, sir, about 20 past 11 just before. You blithering idiot, man. It wasn't me who rang you. Don't you realize? But what was the use? He had used the telephone at the time, but only to try unsuccessfully once more to get through to the examinations board. He shook his head in growing despair and turned on the senior prison officer. As for you, Jackson, how long have you been pretending you have got a brain? Well, I'll tell you something, Jackson. Your skull's empty, absolutely empty. It was Jackson who had spent 2 hours in Evans' cell the previous evening, and it was Jackson who had confidently reported that there was nothing hidden away there, nothing at all. And yet Evans had somehow managed to conceal not only a false beard, a pair of spectacles, a dark collar, and all the rest of his clerical paraphernalia, but also some sort of weapon with which he had given McClare such a terrible blow across the head. A prison van backed alongside, but the governor made no immediate move. He looked down again at the last line of the German. To the Headington roundabout, where you go straight over and make your way to Nooraban. Nooraban, where on earth? Knew something. New grave? Never heard of it. There was a war grave somewhere near Reading. But no, it was probably a code word, and then it hit him. Newbury, God, yes, Newbury was a pretty big sort of place, but he rapped out his orders to the driver at Adelaide police station and step on it. Take Jackson and Stephens here, and when you get there, ask for Bell, Chief Inspector Bell. Got that? He leaped the stairs to the office, 3 at a time. Got Bell on the phone immediately and put the facts before him. Well, we'll get him, sir, said Bell. We'll get him with a bit of luck. Carter and Governor, they were just talking about McClare because McClare is badly injured, okay? But McClare was not ready to bother about his injury. That time also he says that, Governor, I know he has gone to Ealsfield Way because here it is written Ealsfield Way. So he has gone, Evans has gone. Please take me to that place, okay? I can show you where he is and all. I know where he is. He is in Ealsfield Way only. Please take me there, like he says, okay. So that time Governor ordered Mr. Carter that in your van, you just take this man because he only knows that where Evans has gone, okay. At the same time, this man is badly injured, and Mr. Carter, if you think that he is perfectly alright, then only you can take him to Ealsfield Way. Otherwise, you must just admit him in the hospital. Like that, the governor ordered to Carter, Detective Superintendent Carter. Understood? And that time also, McClare was just shouting like this, Ealsfield Way, like, okay. And governor took the question paper in his hand. Now, Carter took McClare in his van, and the van just went out of the jail. Understood? So, Carter and McClare in Carter's van, they just went out of the jail. Now, the question paper is in governor's hand. Okay. So, when they went out that time again, the governor turned towards the prison officers, Stephens and Jackson, and asked. The governor got irritated and he's really angry, and he asked the governor that, he asked the officers, Jackson and Stephen, that who is the idiot just accompany Evans to the main gate and send him goodbye, said him goodbye. Means that who is that officer, Jackson or Stephen, who just accompanied Evans to the gate? He asked that question to the officers, okay. So Stephen stammered, okay. He said that, sir, it's me, like he said. And who, he said that it's me only, like who said, Stephen, I only took Evans to the gate, as you said. Means that through the phone, you called me and informed me at 11:52, you informed me Stephen should accompany McClare to the gate. So I thought that it's McClare, that's why I took him to the gate. And that time, the governor got shocked. He said that, who rang you up? I didn't call you at all. At 11:50, I took my receiver, but only to try to the examination board, not to you, okay. I didn't call you and mention anything, and I didn't give you any order. I didn't ask you to take McClare to the jail, to the gate, okay. I didn't give you that order, like the governor says, okay. And that time only Jackson and Stephen came to know that call was not from the governor. That was a call from outside. Somebody wants to help Evans to escape, okay. That time only they came to know that. So at 11:52 a.m. Stephen got the call from the governor, and governor asked Stephen to accompany McClare to the gate. Okay, that call was not from the governor. That is the first secret revealed here. Okay, you will get one by one. Listen carefully. So 11:55, Stephen received the call, which was not from the governor. And now the governor asked Jackson that, Okay, Stephen is a newly appointed officer, but Jackson, you are the senior person, and how long I have to give you to prove that you have a brain, like, okay, don't you have brain to think, okay, how can you send Stephen along with McClary? You are a senior officer, you know all the rules and regulations, but you also proved that you don't have a brain, like, he got irritated and he just shouted at Jackson. And now only both the officers, they came to know their mistake. And one more thing he added, okay, the governor. See, you both were there in the previous night in Ivan's cell and you checked everywhere and you informed me that nothing is there in his cell. Even the razor also you took out. Like that you gave me the things, okay, and everything is perfectly arranged like that way you said. But now you know that Evans escaped with your support. At the same time, while going, he wore a long coat. And even a spectacle also he wore, like McClary. How McClary was McClary, you know, just listen carefully. McClary's appearance is, he just have a spectacle, long coat and his hair pinned up. And even, I told you, a long coat with collar he just used to wear. Okay, that is his appearance. And with the same appearance only, Evans went out of the cell. Okay, that time he just wore a spectacle, and even McClary has beard also. But you know that in the beginning, Evans shaved his face. Okay, but while escaping, Evans held that beard. Means that he had some artificial beard somewhere. Okay, so Evans was able to manage a spectacle, false beard, long coat like McClary, and okay, and this everything he was able to manage and kept secretly in his cell. But you both the prison officers, while checking, you were unable to find these things. Means that you failed to do your duty, like that he just shouted. And listen children, now you will get a confusion. Listen carefully. The person who went out, that is Evans, and while going out, Evans dressed up himself like McClary. And the person who sits inside the jail is McClary, and that person also with the same appearance, long coat, false beard, spectacles, everything. That's why only our governor just concluded that Evans was able to manage to keep a false beard, spectacles and a long coat. Clear? So this is the situation. He shouted at the police officers. Now the governor took the question paper. He started reading the plan there. Okay, something written in the question paper. He started reading. So in it written, Eastfield Way to Roundington about. Eastfield Way is the name of a place where the board of the examination, that center situates. Okay, so Eastfield Way, he came to know that name. So now the governor came to the conclusion that somebody from the board of the examination helped Evans, okay, to make this plan. Like that he came to know, because the name is Eastfield Way and the question paper itself, the plan as written, means he came to know that somebody is involved from the board. Okay, he came to know. And in it written, Evans must go, after escaping from the jail, Evans must go to Eastfield Way to Roundington about, that is another place. Okay, it's big place only, he wants to go there. After that, one more name also written in the question paper, Neurabens. Okay, what is it? It's Neurabens. Now, the governor started thinking about the place, Neurabens. Where it, who knows? For the first time, governor heard the name of the place. What is this? Neurabens. And governor, he's a clever person. He starts thinking that Neurabens is not a place. The place is not here at all. He knows. Okay. At the same time, he came to know that that is a code word. Okay. So he starts decoding the word, and he came to know that which is not Neurabens, it is Newbury. And he cried, "Oh God, Newbury is a big place. If somebody goes inside, it's very difficult to find them." Understood? So this is Evans' plan. Okay, from the question paper, Evans got the plan that from jail he wants to escape through the main gate, and then after that he wants to go to Eastfield Way where the examination board situates, and from there he would travel to Roundington about. Okay, and then from there to Neurabens or Newbury. That is the plan written there in the question paper, and our governor was able to decode all these things, and governor came to know that yes, from Eastfield Way he would go to Reddington roundabout and then to Neurabens. That is the plan governor was able to decode this. Understood? And it is written like this. Now governor asked Stephen to make a call to Atlas police station, which is situated in Newbury. Okay, Mr. Bell is the inspector there. So Stephen Jackson, you must call him because we have to pass this information to Mr. Bell. He is the inspector there in Atlas police station, and Atlas police station situated in Newbury. So with the help of them, we will be able to find Evans. That is the order of our governor. Now Jackson try to call Mr. Bell, the inspector of Atlas police station. And now Atlas, when he just rang up, he got the reply, Jackson. Okay, so he handed over the receiver to the governor, and they informed about this. Okay, Evans' escape and all. So Inspector Bell also knows that if somebody come to Newbury, it's really difficult for them to find the person because it's some sort of a big place. Okay, so it's really difficult for them to find. Okay, at the same time, Mr. Bell, he's a positive thinking person. He says that if we have good luck, we'll find him, sir. Don't worry. Okay, he gives that reply. The governor sat back and lit a cigarette. Gods, what a beautiful laid plan it had all been. What a clever fellow Evans was. Careless leaving that question paper behind, but then they all made their mistakes somewhere along the line. Well, almost all of them, and that's why very, very shortly Mr. Clever Evans will be back inside doing his once more. The phone on his desk erupted in a strident burst, and Superintendent Carter informed him that McClary had spotted Evans driving off all along Eastfield Way. They had got to the number of the car, all right, and had given chase immediately, but had lost him at the Headington roundabout. He must have doubled back into the city. No, said the governor quietly. No, he's on his way to Newbury. He explained his reasons for believing so, and left it at that. It was a police job now, not his. He was just another good for a gullible governor, that was all. By the way, Carter, I hope you managed to get McClary to the hospital. All right. Yes, he's in the Radcliffe now. Really groggy he was when we got to the examination offices, and they rang for the ambulance from there. The governor rang the Radcliffe a few minutes later and asked for the accident department. McClary, you see? Yes, he's a person. I don't think there's anyone. Yes, there is. You will find one of your ambulance picked him up from Eastfield Way about. Oh, that, yes, we sent an ambulance, all right. But when we got there, the fellow had gone. No one seemed to know where he was. Just vanished, not a sign. But the governor was no longer listened, and the truth seemed to hit him with an almost physical impact somewhere in the back of his neck. A quarter of an hour later, they found the Reverend S. McClary securely bound and gagged in his study in the Broad Street. He had been there, he said, since 8:15 a.m. when two men had called, and enquiries in Newbury throughout the afternoon produced nothing at all. And by tea time, everyone in the prison knew what had happened. It had not been Evans impersonating McClary who had walked out. It had been Evans impersonating McClary who had stayed in. After talking to Mr. Bell, the governor just came back to his seat and lit a cigarette, okay? And he started thinking about the laid plan by Evans. He thought that Evans is a clever person. That's why he is able to manage this plan, okay? He got help from different sides, and with a beautiful laid plan, he is able to escape from the jail, he came to know, okay? So, he's really a clever person. But one mistake happened from Evans' side. Carelessly, he left the question paper there in the cell itself while escaping. That's why the question paper is in governor's hand, okay? That was really a carelessness. And then by using this question paper, we would decode the things, and the governor starts thinking that, Evans, you are really clever, you are able to escape from the jail, but carelessly you kept the question paper here. With this question paper, we will be able to find you, and soon the clever Evans, you are going to come back to your own cell, okay? I'll just find you like that. The governor starts thinking. Understood? So, here the governor himself admits that Evans is very clever, okay? So, he just calls Evans as a clever person. Clever Evans, he is able to manage the beautiful laid plan, but carelessly he kept the question paper there. With this question paper, the clever Evans is going to come back to the jail soon. Like that, he starts thinking. That time again the telephone rang, and he took the phone, okay, and starts speaking. Carter, the detective superintendent who took McClary out of the cell, okay, with that bleeding man, McClary, that person called, okay, Detective Carter, and Governor starts speaking. Governor asked that, did you find Evans? So Carter says that yes, me and McClary, we just drove towards Eastfield Way. When we reached Eastfield Way, McClary was just bleeding badly, okay. Then also we were able to find Evans. He was just going by a car, okay. That time we just spot him out there in Eastfield Way. When we chased him, the car just went to Roundington about, okay. But it's a big city. We were just not able to get him. Like that way, Carter replied. Clear. So listen carefully. From Eastfield Way, they found Evans, okay, in a car, and they chased Evans, but the car went towards Roundington about, okay. So they were unable to find him. But if the inspector asked, the governor asked, Carter is ready to go and find him from Roundington about, like he says, okay. So the governor says that, no Carter, your duty is over, okay. I don't need your help now. This is police officer's duty. I myself, the governor is going to find Evans, okay, because I got the clue. He did not go to Roundington about. Sure, he would be there in Newsbury because I got it from the question paper. So Carter, now your duty is over. Thank you for your help. Now the governor, myself, is going to find Evans because I don't want to become a giggle in front of everyone. That means I don't want to be a laughing element in front of others. Means that the prisoner is very clever and the officer is a fool. Like that, I don't want to prove in front of anyone. Means that if somebody outsiders will come to know that, they think that I'm a fool, okay, and in front of them I'll be a laughing element that I don't want to pick up, okay. So here in this case, I myself involved and I'll find Evans and I'll bring him back to the cell, okay, because I got the hint or the clue where he is. Now I'm going to Newbury, okay, and find Evans. That reply he gives. After that, the governor asked Carter that, how was McClary? Did you admit him in the hospital like he asked? So Carter says that, yes, when we reached Eastfield Way, McClary was bleeding badly, and from the board itself, some persons who were there in the board, they called to Radcliffe Hospital, and an ambulance came to Eastfield Way and they took McClary to Radcliffe Hospital. Now McClary is admitted in Radcliffe Hospital. That Carter says, okay. And the inspector kept the phone back and he just called to the hospital, okay, Radcliffe Hospital. And when he rang up to the hospital, a staff took the phone and our governor asked about McClary. A patient is admitted there in accident department. His name is McClary. How is he? Like he asked. So that time the office staff replied that McClary, she asked. So governor says that yes, he's a parson or a priest, like. So the office staff replied that there is not a person like this name, okay, McClary, a person is not admitted here, like. So the governor got shocked and he says that yes, a person is there. You only send your ambulance to Eastfield Way near the examination board, and from there you took that person to your hospital, like he gave the details. That time the staff says that, oh, that person, yes, we sent the ambulance to Eastfield Way near to the examination board. When our ambulance reached there, the person vanished. The person was not there at all, okay. Where he had gone, we don't know, not a some small signal there, okay, nothing was there and the person was not there. He disappeared from there. We didn't get a patient from that place. Who got this information? Our governor got this information from Radcliffe Hospital. So McClary was not admitted in the hospital. And now the governor kept the phone back and he called to the St. Max Church, okay, because McClary came from there only, so he wants to know that. And he called. When he called, the real McClary attended the phone, okay, and he says that till 8:15 onwards he was there only, okay. He did not come out of the church for invitation. Why? Because he got a call from someone. Two-person call came there, and a call also he received, but he did not complete it. Okay, that is suspense only. He did not complete it. Anyhow, McLaren did not move out of St. Mark's Church. Okay, 8:15 onwards, he was there only. So the real McLaren did not come for invigilation. Okay, that news governor got. He kept the phone back, and he got a hard hit on his back, like that way he gets. Okay, why? Because every word, Evans was really clever. He proved like that every word without a small hole, loophole also he did not give to the prison officers. Understood? So even with the invigilator also they played the trick. Okay, invigilator did not come because he got the news through the phone like that. He did not want to come out of. Okay, he did not want to come to the invigilation like that. That's why McLaren did not come out of the church. Okay. Then who was that invigilator? That is our question. Before that, I have to tell you, in the evening, all the prison officers came to know the news that, okay, what is that now? This is the second secret revelation. Okay, everyone, they came to know that the person who went out of their cell was the invigilator. Okay, that means the person come as McLaren, that person only went out of the cell along with Stephen. But while going, he just imitates like Evans and all the police officers thought that Evans only escaped like, okay. But exactly, listen carefully, okay. The person who went out of the jail with the help of Stephen, that was the invigilator who comes inside the jail. That person only went. But who was sitting inside the cell, acting like McLaren? I know where Evans and all like that, the bleeding person, no? That was Evans only. But he just imitated like McLaren, okay, and then he escaped. Listen, got it or not? Listen carefully. The person who went out of the cell was McLaren, okay, whoever that, not real McLaren, then also McLaren only left. But the person who was sitting inside the jail, acting like McLaren was Evans only, okay. Evans only, he was just acting like McLaren. Oh, that person hit and he escaped like that way. That's why he kept the linen kerchief over his head, because his face should not be visible. For that only he kept that, and he shouted and acted like McLaren. And with the help of the police officers, very, very clever Evans was able to escape from the jail. That all the police officers came to know. Clear?